سلام وعدالة والثورة خيار الشعب. حرية سلام وعدالة والثورة خيار الشعب. حرية 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 حرية.
Code switching or using a different voice or accent. When we talk about mental health services, because you talk on the phone and your family members would have taken a while to speak on the phone and try and get something you could do in 10 seconds.
Even now within work, I speak in a Scottish accent. If I need anything done, you do it in a Scottish accent, you do it with that attitude. You do a Scottish accent with attitude, they're like, oh, okay. She knows what she's talking about.
I did feel that sometimes when you speak, like the way you speak, the level of your English matters.
Welcome back. Today you're going to hear discussions about mental health, about mental ill health, mental illness, and barriers and access to services in Edinburgh and Lothians from a Sudanese perspective. This is a podcast. You're going to hear both trauma and triumph in the mix, and you are in control of the play button, the pause button, and ultimately the stop button. So just preparing you before you start listening to the rest of this episode. If you're not feeling in the best of space, just hit stop, come back at another time when you feel right. If you are affected by any of the issues raised in this discussion, or one of your loved ones is affected by one of the issues, then there's some guidance at the end about some of the general supports you can find across the UK and specifically in Edinburgh in Scotland. To reassure you, there's no voyeurism in this episode. That's not how we roll at Hop Hurriya. People are talking about their own stories of how to advocate for family members and themselves. We don't talk about violence or abuse that we've experienced, and we don't talk about individual mental health services, whether they've been helpful to us or harmed us. Okay, so we're here sat in the beautiful sunny botanics and just having a bit of a chat. So we've been talking as we went for a walk about the Hop Hurriya project, and also a little bit of affinity about being Sudanese and Scottish, or Sudanese and British, and then some of the themes of like emotional resilience and self-care. Would you just tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'd probably describe myself as a community development worker mostly. I have a few different jobs and hats, but they're all in the same kind of theme of community work. And I'm Sudanese Scottish, so I'm mixed with half Sudanese heritage and half Scottish heritage, so it's good to have both of those hats sometimes too. And yeah, I think I'm just really passionate about advocating for different marginalised communities that I'm a part of, but also ones that I'm not, and just making sure that everyone has an equal start in life. And yeah, passionate about decolonial practice and all of that sort of stuff.
We're having a conversation about what are words for mental ill health, so not the well-being but the illness or unwellness. What are some of the words? And we had different words in Arabic, but it'd be really helpful to hear in English from you. What do we mean when we say mental illness or mental health?
Yeah, it's interesting you should bring that up. That's something that has come up before. When I first started in the job, I was going to different groups that work with minority ethnic communities just to introduce the work that we do to try and get people involved in the group, and it was actually quite difficult for that reason, because people were kind of like, what are you talking about when you talk about mental illness? Does that mean you're kind of locked in a hospital, you're on these medications? And I was like, no, that's obviously that's part of it, but that's not the whole part of it. So really just kind of describing it in the way of feeling any sort of distress mentally. So that could be sadness, nervousness and anxiety, could be after periods of grief around losing a loved one, where you feel different to your usual self, when you feel like your mental state is preventing you from carrying out your day-to-day life, from maintaining relationships. And that could be maybe not sadness, it could be you're feeling extremely high and happy, but that's actually making you do things that you wouldn't normally do, and you just don't feel your usual self, and you're acting in ways that are unfamiliar to you, and you don't really know why.
Something I learned through my own research for this project was the first mental health hospital in the world, in the Islamic world. In the golden era. So we're talking about 1300s. I never knew that there was, I'll find the name, I've forgotten it. Really helpful piece. I found out about it through the Royal Society for Psychology. Yeah. And they have a section about faith. And there was a British Muslim Asian guy writing about the first mental health hospital and the history of that. And I was like, hold on, the first one was in the Islamic world in the 1300s. And they're describing their treatments for depression. And they wouldn't use the word depression, but the kind of treatments, there were so many similarities between what we learn now.
Modern medicine, yeah.
So I wonder if some of it is about health cultures, and something, but also some of it, I can't escape thinking some of what we chatted about the way people get treated on the phone, the people get treated when you do visit, the kind of, what you described that GP sounds horrible, but you described it like when they don't look in the eye when you're talking, that disconnect of the humanity. And I just wonder, like with all this talk about mental health services, and like if people's experience of the most basic physical health is that, why on earth have they talked to you about the fact that their child's not eating and has a funny relationship with food, or that they're really worried that their husband is depressed, or they're worried their wife is struggling with anxiety? Why would they talk about that thing if they can't even talk to you about, my finger feels funny, I might have broken something? So I'm often trying to get people to hear, this is complex stuff, listen to people, ask them why didn't they not go to this service.
And are you reaching to those people and seeing why they're not coming to you? Are you reaching to the organizations? Like, people don't know where to go, to be honest. For mental health issues. A lot of people don't know where to go.
I think it's very difficult. I was speaking to this young woman like a while ago now, and she was going through a lot with her husband and like her family and things, and her family was very supportive, but she married this man that treated her very badly and stopped her from like seeing her child, whatnot, and claimed the fact that she was hysterical and crazy and whatnot, and didn't allow her to do that.
Stereotypes.
And it allowed her, and it's the issue of mental health. It's so difficult because when it's yourself, you don't know how to figure it out or tackle it or whatever. And then if you then go and admit to, especially if you're in this type of situation, it's difficult to then go and admit to the fact that I do need help. I do need help with this thing mentally, because then suddenly it's gonna have all these repercussions on you in your life. And I've seen it with a lot of the women I work with, a lot of the women outside of that it's like, it's very difficult to just say, I'm actually very much struggling. And you don't want to, and obviously it's not in your nature. And a doctor's not going to ask you, is what I've noticed a lot. A lot of the doctors, they don't ask. You say, I'm under a lot of stress, I'm very tired, I'm doing this. And you want to just address the physical problems. And obviously you're hinting kind of towards the mental aspect of it, but they disregard that fact. You go, I'm really tired, I'm this, I'm that. They go, these vitamin D supplements should help with that. You sound busy, but the supplement should help, you'll be fine. And like, it's very like,
so let's keep it at surface level, because I'm not interested in delving deeper. And unless you bring it to me proactively, I'm just going to take it at surface level, deep.
And a lot of the time,
and without talking too much about your job or your employer, you're working with a lot of women. In this city, where you're seeing this, so your expertise is like, probably not many people will be able to speak in the way you are with the evidence in front of you. Do you know what I hear more often when I'm in like as a youth worker and community worker, the kind of circles I've been around, but also like in around social. So I'm not a social worker, but I worked alongside social worker in Scotland for like 10 years. So being in those circles, the kind of routine thing I'd hear is not nasty, but they say it almost as fact. They're like, oh yeah, but we know that for whatever reason, they wouldn't say the reason, people from the black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities, they just don't engage. They don't engage. So they kept talking about don't engage. And I'd often think, you talk about it as if people don't engage because they don't want to be healthy. The subtext is, there's a barrier here and we don't know what it is. Yeah. For like services, like health services or appointments. Yeah. I remember you saying family members would say, come here please, because you talk on the phone, and your family members would have taken a while to speak on the phone and try and get something you could do in 10 seconds. Yeah. Is that right? Do I remember that right?
No, I did it a few times. Even now within work, I speak in a Scottish accent. If I need anything done, you do it in a Scottish accent, you do it with that attitude. You do a Scottish accent with attitude, they're like, oh, okay. She knows what she's talking about. They're like, oh, khalas, ma'alish. This is okay, here you go, well, I'll figure this out. Because when you go in with a Scottish accent, with a little bit of bass in your voice, khalas, you're getting what you need done. They'll treat you butchery.
And if you speak with a broken, English...
If you speak with a normal English accent, Sudanese, African accent, when they can tell there's some sort of culture to your accent, they automatically think that you're uneducated. And that you obviously don't know the systems of the country, So then they don't feel the need to prioritize what's going on with you. It's that whole thing of code switching and whatnot.
What's code switching?
It's the way you change the way you speak. You know, when you're with people, you feel like you're speaking more naturally. And then when you go somewhere else, you start speaking in, I don't know. Like, for example, people say, like, when I speak on the phone, I speak in my white voice. So when you're trying to get, like, shit done, you speak in your white voice because you know, okay, if I speak like this, or in Scotland, you speak in your Scottish accent, everyone's gonna do everything you need them to do. But if you start speaking in like you start speaking in your own accent, or you start using your own like abbreviations and your own lingo, people are gonna start going, who's that? Or like, they don't, like, they're not as intellectual, they're not this, they're not that. It's like very historical in the way of like one way you act in the office and the way you act with your friends or your peers or whatever.
Thinking about like where the need is really high, and I think that need's been there for a long time.
And the need as well to address the stigma, because we do have this in our community. Stigma of seeking help, trying to...
Totally. Tell me if I'm wrong, but my experience with Sudanese culture is... Actually, I shouldn't say that. My own family, my Sudanese family's culture is you talk about good things. You celebrate good things. You give people props. You champion things when people do really well. If something bad, private. So you celebrate publicly, you struggle privately, but we do community really well. So you help each other out in a practical way, and my sense is women can be really good at supporting women quietly. Men can be really good at supporting men quietly. I think women are usually a bit better at that, but to be able to say more than I'm tired, like the indicators, I'm tired, I'm struggling, pray for me, do dua for me. Like those are the triggers for me that I know in the community. I'm like, they need me to step a little bit closer and say, is there anything we can do to help? And I know you guys would have done the same. You know, there's little indicators that if you care, you'll do that. But I've often wondered, is this code? Not code switching, but code for like, do you know, I'm really suffering inside. Yeah. And I just wonder, when we talked about rahat al-bal, those phrases, I wonder like what words in Arabic, in Sudanese Arabic, do we use to say, like if you were to say, do you know what, my son or my husband or my whatever has a mental health condition. Like, how would you say that in Arabic? Do we even have a word for that? Like
like depression.
A mental illness. Yeah. Like depression is a mental illness. It's a recognized mental illness. Very common, but it's clinically diagnosed, and you can live a good. I shouldn't say good because I don't have it. I understand for people who have depression, you can have a good quality of life managing depression your whole life with the right medication, the right support. But so, in Arabic, like, how would you say, my husband suffers from depression? Do we have that kind of language?
We do. Yeah. Depression in Arabic is iktiab.
Iktiab. Okay.
And that's the word that, like, the word depression is played down a lot in Sudanese culture. Like they say, like when they say iktiab, that's serious. Okay. But when they say medabris,
well, it's like they're just a bit upset.
It's like medabris from depressed. It's like like she said, she's a bit upset.
But medabris sounds so very temporary. منفسن شوية. Yeah. So you're just feeling a bit. You're in your feelings. منفسن is like you're in your feelings.
But when they say اكتئاب, it's like serious.
The other one I was wondering is schizophrenia, because that is something that's quite scary for a lot of communities. Like, do we have a phrase for like schizophrenia in Arabic?
That's انفصام في الشخصية. Is that the same as bipolar?
Bipolar is slightly different, but like so schizophrenia is where they have periods of quite extreme psychosis. So their perception of the world, from sight, hearing, taste, smell, even sometimes touch, sense, is almost like they're seeing a totally different world to the one the rest of us would see around
But
us.
we use the same word in Arabic, schizophrenia.
That's the same word.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia.
It's just with the accent.
But we have a word for the bipolar.
What's that one?
انفصام
I
في
see.
الشخصية. It's like a character.
It's like a split
personality. Kind of.
Yeah. Which again, split personality is like quite a particular mental disorder in like Western terms. Like that's a particular. Whereas bipolar, it used to get called manic depression in this country, where you someone has very high highs and very low lows very quickly, sometimes in the same hour. So like bipolar, where they're just literally like kind of flipping. And again, people can manage a life with bipolar and become more in control of it. But so that's be انفصام.
شخصية. في الشخصية. In the character.
انفصام في الشخصية. In the character.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's like split personality.
Or in the personality.
I think because it's like bipolar's between the two polar
Yes.
things. So I think it comes from.
Mental health is just like physical health. Anyone can have mental health. It can be on a range of spectrum, from, just feeling sadness sometimes, feeling it constantly, not even just sadness, different emotions, but it is just like physical health. So you can be super religious and practice to a highest degree and still suffer from mental health issues and still need different interventions outside of faith. If someone had cancer, they wouldn't be able to get rid of their cancer from just praying and being closer to whoever their God is. So it's just important to remember that, it can be for a variety of reasons. It can be because of something that's happened in your life that's given you trauma. It could just be a genetic thing that you cannot help. It doesn't matter what experience you've had. You might have had an amazing life compared to other people, but still feel a certain way about specific things and have triggers, and it really doesn't matter. But anybody can have mental health, and it's just important as physical health.
Thank you for listening. If you're worried about your own mental health or the mental health of a loved one, know that there's help immediately available. For example, the Samaritans, who you can call anytime, day or night, on 116 123. Similarly, there's a text service with mental health innovations called Shout. You can just text the word SHOUT, SHOUT, to the number 85258, and you'll immediately be supported by people purely through text message. If it's an immediate crisis and an emergency, please do use 999 and ask for mental health trained professionals. You have the right to ask for an Arabic interpreter so that you can speak clearly in emergency situations and be understood clearly. If you're Sudanese living in Edinburgh and the Lothians, you can contact the Sudanese Community Organisation. Just look up the Sudanese Community in Edinburgh on Facebook and you'll find contacts immediately there. We have a number of professionals working within the organisation, and we're very used to supporting people privately and quietly as they need. Hop Hurriya is a dark matter production, which is me, Zaki El-Salahi, a member of the Sudanese community in Edinburgh.
Hi, my name is Fatuma and I helped make this.
Hi, my name is Azza and I made this.
Nania is the name I would like to share, as it's my name in the Nuba language.
اسمي كفاح إبراهيم مشهور بكفاح الإزقاردي في تويتر.
Hello, I'm Manzir. I'm part of the project.
The Hop Hurriya project is a collaboration between Dark Matter and Media Education, who provide digital media education and learning opportunities for communities across Scotland. We're grateful to our funders, the Scottish Government, Community Mental Health and Wellbeing Fund, and our supporters, EVOC, Edinburgh's Voluntary Organisation Council, for the support they've given us for this project. Stay tuned for more in the series. Salam. Peace.